Hi ZanniCorax. My name is Nils. This is in response to your video on YouTube, A Serious Question, Population and Sacrifice. In this video, you ask a number of questions which pertain to how much we would be willing to give up for the survival of mankind. There's a number of issues that you raise. The most important one is, of course, children. We are faced with a very grave problem of overpopulation in our timeline here, with some rather scary projections for the future. Now, it is, of course, clear that we cannot sustain as a planet that amount of overpopulation. How we do it at the moment is beyond me. But I did want to note, of course, that if it weren't for the frivolities of nationalism, of religious exuberance, of simple good old-fashioned capitalism, we might be able to solve a lot of these problems. We do have today, as I speak, the technology, the money, and the means by which to feed the entire planet. It can be done. We have the means, the technology to ensure health for the entire planet. What we lack is the will. Now, of course, we can talk about nationalism, we can talk about capitalism as much as we want, but the reason there are people starving in the sub-Sahara is fundamentally because we can't be bothered to sacrifice our own little comfort in order to help them. Now, that's true for some people, it's not true for others. There are people who do a lot of work to help them, but fundamentally it's a question of global will. If we all push in the same direction, we can achieve wonderful things, and history is proof of this. Now, to the questions, would I be happy to give up children? Well, I'm actually planning to have a vasectomy quite soon. I have no children. I don't intend to have any. I haven't been fortunate enough to find somebody with whom I would want to have children, but I think that it's something. I'm 31 now, and it's something that I should be considering for the future. Because, of course, simply because I have a vasectomy does not mean that I cannot have children. Now, that's, of course, I'm talking about adoption. I have always felt very uncomfortable when speaking with people who invest hundreds, thousands, if not tens of thousands of pounds or dollars, in your case, of money into fertility treatments and so forth. Test your babies, you know the whole thing. And who will put all of this money into having their own little biological copy, mini copy of themselves, when they could adopt a child. Now, my mother and my aunt and uncle were abandoned as children by their parents, and they were adopted by kind people, my grandparents, or my adoptive grandparents. I can't help but feel that there are children out there without parents who would love to be adopted and who could benefit greatly. And I'm not talking about just children in the United States or the United Kingdom. I'm talking about children all across the world who have lost parents to ethnic cleansing, who have lost parents to civil war, to disease, to famine. These are children that we could certainly integrate into our own societies and love as our own children. And this is particularly true when in the UK, for instance, in vitro fertilization, IVF, is sponsored and paid by the National Health Service, which means that when I pay taxes, a tiny fraction of this goes to some person's IVF treatment. Now, I don't feel that I should have to pay for this. I feel that this person should, having tried, to have children in the natural way, whatever that means, with a partner, that they should try adoption. There's many children out there who could do with it. Now there's a few more questions that you touch, divided mainly into giving up our own transport, our own autonomy, and giving up luxuries. Well, I don't know if this is really possible in the United States, but with regards to transport, now I don't have a car, and to be honest with you, I don't even have a driver's license. It's just something that has never really bothered me, because wherever I've been in the world, be it in Norway, be it in Belgium, be it in the UK, be it in Australia, I've always been able to rely 100% on public transport. I know that in some parts of the world, and America is a very good example, many people really do enjoy their own little car, their own autonomy, and that's good, except of course for the fact that if everybody thinks that way, then everybody will require a car, and I can't really picture a world where there are 9.2 billion cars on the road. So we really have to rethink our own approach to transport. Are we going to be able to afford 9.2 billion cars on the road, or will we start thinking reasonably and rationally and logically and accept that, well, maybe we should carpool, maybe we should use public transport? Because at the end of the day, that adding a few buses on the road in the UK is not a big deal. But when you're in the US, where that entire infrastructure does not exist, and I'm thinking specifically of places like Wyoming or Montana. I mean, Wyoming doesn't even have a train station. It's all industrial. There's no train station there, and buses are rare. I've tried. They're just not there. You get a few Greyhounds or whatever the company is called, but public transport definitely is the way to go, because we can't afford all those cars. And of course the other one is giving up our luxuries, giving up our comfort. Well, I don't think that it would be required. I think that we possess the technology today, we have the resources to ensure that a certain level of basic life comfort can be maintained for everyone without exuberant costs. We also need to limit our own greed. Do I really need a third camera? Do I really need a second car? Do I really need a new mobile phone? Can't I just use the mobile phone that I have now? We have to learn to make do, as my friend Bobby Llewellyn says. So we have to learn how to recycle. We have to learn how to simply use things until they really do break, rather than constantly hoard and amass this crap. We really don't need it. It's tying us down. It's enslaving us. We just need to reach a new level of humanist thought, and live with that, because it's sustainable rather than what we have now, which clearly isn't. And finally, you ask whether I would be happy to give up my life for humanity. Difficult question. Really difficult question. I'd like to think that I would, but it would of course depend on context. I would take a bullet for a friend. I would sacrifice my life for somebody that I love. I'm a humanist by nature. Would I do that for mankind? I hope so. I don't know. It's a very good question, though. Thank you for asking it, and thank you for all these other questions. Peace. Best regard from England.